Now at 5, the Delphi murders trial begins tomorrow. The decisions made today ahead of opening statements, and what you can expect as both sides outline what they believe happened to Abby and Libby.
Temperatures in the 60s today, and the warm-up continues. I'll have the numbers into the weekend.
Making an arrest officially 1 week later after a 14-year-old boy dies. The man that's now facing charges in that hit and run, and also the message the teen's family is now sharing tonight. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Well, we are now less than 24 hours away from opening statements in the Delphi murders trial.
This trial now officially begins tomorrow to the north in Carroll County as the state of Indiana tries to prove that it was Richard Allen who killed Abby Williams and Libby German 7.5 years ago. We've got a team of coverage for you tonight. Our 13 investigative reporter Bob Siegel is in Delphi with a look at what we can expect as the jurors begin to hear evidence.
So we're going to start with Emily Longnecker. She joins us from Fort Wayne, where she was in the courtroom as the judge overseeing the case swore in the jury and held another hearing ahead of the trial. Emily.
We're going to tell you the makeup of the jury and what life will look like for them, at least for the next month. First, though, we learned today that the jury will not be going to view the scene. The defense withdrew that request this morning with no explanation why. Originally, Allen's lawyers said in a motion it was important for the jury to visit the Freedom and Monon High bridges, along with the site where Libby German and Abby Williams' bodies were found, and the site of a building where prosecutors say Allen's car was parked from 1:30 to 4, the day the girls disappeared. Those places are all less than 2 miles from the courthouse, and the defense said going there would help the jury understand evidence at trial because they would see and get a feel for the area. The state opposed the visit, saying in court filings the terrain was difficult to get around on and dangerous for the jury to get to. They also argued that some of the areas look different now, several years later. That request, though, no longer on the table. Judge Francis Gall also swore in the jury this morning. 4 men and 8 women from Allen County sit on the jury that will decide Richard Allen's guilt or innocence. 2 men and 2 women will serve as alternates should a jury member need to be excused. The jury will be sequestered for the length of the trial. Their families will be allowed to visit them on Sundays, and if they want to go to church, they can, but only if a court bailiff goes with them. After the jury was sworn in, they were dismissed to head to Carroll County, which will be their home for at least the next month. Now, coming up tonight at 6, we'll tell you about those 2 composite sketches of a possible suspect that were widely circulated to the public. The defense wants the jury to see at least one of those sketches. The prosecution doesn't want them to see any of them. And coming up tonight at 6, we'll tell you what Judge Francis Gall has to say about that. In Allen County, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
And now the focus shifts to Delphi.
That's where preparations are underway in the town and around the courthouse tonight. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel is there, and he joins us now live.
Bob, you actually just got out of a meeting with Judge Gall. Can you tell us what you learned?
Yes, during that meeting with the judge, she specifically referenced these tarps and this new fencing behind us back here. She said it is intentional to protect the identities and safety of jurors. That's where they will come in and out of the courthouse over the next month. The judge and Richard Allen will also use this entrance, and their safety is a top priority. The judge also told us about what is happening with jurors. She said they've all turned in their cell phones and electronic devices and will only be able to use those to talk with family and friends in the presence of a bailiff. Jurors will have no TVs or phones in their hotel rooms and can only watch TV and movies in a common room, again, in the presence of court security. All jurors were instructed to vote in the general election before reporting for jury service today. And while the judge expects each trial day to last from about 9 to 6 every day, she said she might end some days early. How jurors are doing, especially on days they must see or hear very disturbing evidence and testimony. Now, those jurors have an extremely important job, trying to determine whether Richard Allen is the man who killed Abby and Libby. And over the course of the next month, those jurors are going to hear very different stories about what actually happened.
When jurors take their seats in this Carroll County courtroom, they'll be asked to decide whether Richard Allen did, in fact, murder Abby Williams and Libby German.
I think the world will be watching.
13 News legal expert Katie Jackson-Lindsay has tried both sides of a murder case as a deputy prosecutor and as a criminal defense attorney. She says when the Carroll County prosecutor presents the state's case to the jury, it will focus on painting a picture of the crime scene.
We don't know every single piece of evidence that was collected. We don't know how significant every piece of that evidence is. Learning more about the crime scene itself and educating this jury on that is going to be really important for the prosecution.
Also important for the prosecutor, establishing for the jury that Richard Allen was actually at the scene of the crimes.
That's so important because at this juncture, Richard Allen is the only person charged with these murders. They have to be able to put Richard Allen there, I think, to have credibility with this jury.
Allen denies having anything to do with the murders, but police say he did admit to being on the walking trails near the Monon High Bridge, not far from the crime scene on the day of the murders, and the jury will hear that.
And so the state's going to use that as a very burning piece of evidence to, first and foremost, at least put him in the area and give him opportunity. But on the other hand, that can also cut both ways, because if he truly committed these crimes, why would he admit that?
We also expect the state to tell jurors about a bullet found at the crime scene. Even though the court records suggest the girls' deaths were not caused by a firearm, investigators say forensic testing conducted on an unfired bullet found near the girls' bodies show it matches a gun that belonged to Richard Allen.
That it's a pretty critical piece of evidence for the prosecution because it's the single piece of physical evidence, as I understand it, that links Richard Allen to the scene.
Expect the defense team to challenge that evidence and the controversial science of linking an unfired bullet to a specific gun. And when the state tells the jury that Richard Allen allegedly confessed to the murders while in prison, well, his defense team will push back on that too.
As the state's presenting this evidence, we're going to watch the defense challenge every single one of these witnesses in cross-examination.
She says cross-examination is when the defense team will try to undermine the credibility of police, how they investigated the murders, and how they singled out Allen. And the defense wants the jury to hear an alternative theory about the murders. Their claim that Abby and Libby were murdered not by Richard Allen, but by people who were conducting a pagan ritual sacrifice.
We are going into this trial with a roadmap of the entire defense strategy, and that is that someone else, some other guy other than Richard Allen, committed this crime.
But Judge Francis Gall recently ruled the defense will not be able to call their own witnesses to back up that strategy because she doesn't think the defense has established a link between the alternate suspects and the actual murders. But during the trial, the defense will again try to establish that link to get their evidence and witnesses heard. And also worth watching, the judge and the defense have both claimed the other is incompetent. Will they be able to set aside their animosity to ensure a fair trial?
Even if it wasn't Richard Allen, someone did this. Someone has caused this horrific harm to these families. And so the idea of individual or personal tension, it just really increases the anxiety, and it makes it a harder trial for everyone.
Make no mistake, the trial will be hard, especially for Abby and Liz families and for Richard Allen's families. 13 News will be here with team coverage every day of the trial to bring you exactly what happens inside the courtroom. Also, we want to point out 13 Investigates just learned the expected cost for this trial just doubled. I'll have more on that coming up at 5:30. In Delphi, Bob Siegel, 13 News.
Bob, thank you so much. We'll check back with you in just a little bit. In the meantime, if you'd like to take a more in-depth look back at the case during our Delphi Murders special on WTHR Plus, you can do so. It's airing at 7 o'clock tonight.
WTHR Plus is free and available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. Just search WTHR in your app store. Angela?
Felicia, as expected, warmer afternoon for us today. High temperatures ended up in the low to mid 60s. That puts us a handful of degrees warmer than this time yesterday. We're up 6 in Kokomo, up 6 in Lafayette, 8 degrees warmer in Shelbyville and Bloomington, and up 4 in Indianapolis. Temperatures right now in the upper 50s and low 60s. 61 at Morris Reservoir, going to be a nice sunset there. 61 Greensburg and 59 in Connorsville. Upper 50s, low 60s the next couple of hours. Once the sun goes down, temperatures will drop into the upper 40s. Cold enough early tomorrow morning for patchy frost again, but not quite as cold as what we had this morning. It'll be chilly for high school football tomorrow evening. Kickoff temperatures, low 60s.
All right, thanks so much, Angela.
We are following breaking news tonight at 5.
That's right. Now, Metro Police tell us they're trying to figure out who killed a man that was found near the northwest side of Indianapolis. The shooting just happened around 1:30 today on West 29th Street near Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street. Metro Police say they found the man dead in an alley when they arrived on the scene.
Investigators are now interviewing people in that area who may have witnessed the shooting. Also developing tonight, a man is under arrest accused of hitting and killing a 14-year-old boy.
This was a crash that happened exactly a week ago on the far east side of Indianapolis. Today, our Marina Silva just spoke with the teen's family, who says they are torn up, especially after they find out who is accused of hitting the boy.
This is what Cumberland Road looked like after a crash last week took the life of a 14-year-old Willie Rivera. Since then, his family has been pleading for anyone and everyone to come forward. Those pleas now coming true as Joshua Rain has been charged.
It went from happiness that they caught somebody to, I can't believe that I know you knew. You knew that you had hit him.
Willie's aunt, Heather Harvell, says Rain knows the family and has for a while.
He's been to my son's funeral. You could have came and said, I messed up, and I want you to hear it from me before the police or the media tell you that I did this, and I'm sorry. It wouldn't have brought him back, but it would have went a long way.
Road. This is where the crash happened. Court documents say Josh Rain thought he hit a deer. It wasn't until the next day when he started getting news alerts that he went to police.
I've seen the video. There's no way around it. Our baby was on that car. It was not a deer.
Harvell says of all things, she wants Rain to take responsibility.
This is something that Josh did. It has nothing to do with his kids. It has nothing to do with his kids' mothers. This is his responsibility, and this is all on him.
Now, a family is one step closer to justice. Reporting in Indianapolis, Marina Silva, 13 News.
Willie's family is grieving and plans to honor him with a balloon release set for tonight at 6 o'clock at the entrance of Cumberland Estates. That's on North Cumberland Road. We're now getting this, an up-close look at the construction along the Henry Street Bridge.
Hear what an archaeologist says they found tonight at 5:30. First at 5, the leader of Hamas killed.
The revelation from the Israeli military today is next.